Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as we broadcast live from one of the central places on earth for Torah, and that's in Lakewood, New Jersey, broadcasting from Rabbi Ratberg Shul here in Toms River, and we start B'Reshus D'Mardas Rav Ratberg, and as always, we show our immense appreciation to TorahAnytime.com for giving us a platform to be Maritz Torah in 180 countries. We also thank Chazak for being Mefarsim this year, and we thank all of you for coming and joining us. We welcome in also all my Zoomers that are here this evening. And Baruch Hashem, as the Shul promised, we are up and running. And we welcome you on Kol HaLashon. We welcome you in all other areas that we have on here, many different mediums. Tonight's shir is being sponsored by one of our Zoomers, by Moshe Fishman, Lili Nishmas, his grandfather, Rabbi Yisrael Meir ben Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Shurkin. His neshama should have an aliyah. And we're also dedicated by Seymour Weinberg, CPA, L'Refur Shalema for Yisrael Yoina ben Chaya Charna. She should have a Refur Shalema in the schus of our learning and her many schusim. She should have from Hashem a Refur Shalema b'sech Sharcha Yisrael. We also, I want to personally learn for a friend of mine who passed away today, and it's a jarring thing. About 2.5 weeks ago, he was playing tennis, listening to this shir. Also, he was a subscriber of this shir, and then he developed what they find out now is a super infection in one of his heart stents, and that killed him. Neshama should have, his name is Baruch ben Yosef. His neshama should have a Lcha Gan Eden. He was a very special friend. I want to mention, I don't mention everybody by name by this year, but a special mention to Mordechai Baron Saden, listening to us right now from Berlin. Welcome. The first word tonight has a little bit of a history, and I was telling it over to my Rebbetzin, who Baruch Hashem, I have the schus that she's here tonight, in a very real way. Shali v'shelachem shalahi. She lets me learn and prepare the shiurim. She witnesses how hard I work on the shiurim. So I told her the story, and I always feel that Hashem guides me to what I should say for this year. There's so many people listening to this year and watching this year. I always feel that Hashem guides me. So anyway, I had a sefer that the way it works is any thought that I take and I expound on from a sefer, I write the year next to it in the sefer. So I could have written in the sefer Tafshin Nun Aleph. So I write first of all, I want to know that if I said it already, I try not to repeat things, but also I want to know when I said it. So anyway, I had a new sefer that I bought that I had several thoughts that I wanted to talk about, and I couldn't find the sefer. And, I have a lot of svarim in the house, but I have the svarim that I have on Bereshis, I have special shelves for them, and I was using it. I said, Shashi, did you see the sefer? And we looked, I couldn't find the sefer. So I said, no, Farfallen. And because of that, I took a sefer to look at that I wasn't planning to use. And I found in it a thought which I'm starting to share with. And I said to her, we can't find the Sefer. I have a feeling the Rebbeinu Shalom wants me to look elsewhere because there's a thought that he wants me to say. Right afterwards, we found the Sefer in her car. How it got into her car, that's one of the mysteries of the world. But obviously, the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted me to share with you this word, and that's why I'm starting with it. Al tira Avram. Hashem says, don't be afraid, Avram. Anoichi magein lach, I'll protect you. Schorcha har b'ma'id. Your reward is going to be very great. The great Svardi Chacham, the Ben Ish Chai, who is one of the, Agadic pillars, one of the homiletic pillars of the learning of the Agadic Gemaras and Shas, he asks a kasha. It says in Kedushin, Schar mitzvah b'hayal maleka. There's no reward for mitzvahs in this world. The understanding of this I explained to my oila many times, and that is there's no bank big enough to cash the check in this world of just one mitzvah. So schar mitzvah b'hayal maleka. So ask the Ben Ish Chai, wait a second. The Rebbeinu Shalom, it says, keeps the Torah. It says, b'yoymai titein scharai. That you're supposed to pay wages on the day that a person works. We know that that's a very big halacha. Somebody does a job. We have famous stories about the Kelis Yaakov, how he went and walked in the street in his old age to pay the person that wrote for him because of b'yoymai titein scharai. How the Chavetz Chaim did a dance on Friday afternoon when the Balagala brought him back from the mikveh, and the family saw him dancing, and they asked him what. He says, I got an extra mitzvah when I came home from the mikveh. I paid the Balagala b'yoymai titein scharai. There have stories about Gedolim who made sure to pay the babysitter and that they wouldn't send him home without paying because of b'yoymai titein scharai. So how could the Rebbeinu Shalom not pay? So the Ben Ish Chai says, we paskin in Choshen Mishpat that if you hire workers using a shliach, using an agent, then b'yoymai titein scharai doesn't apply. And since we got the mitzvahs al yedei a shliach, we got the mitzvahs al yedei Moshe Rabbeinu, so b'yoymai titein scharai doesn't apply. He says, but that is only by the 611 mitzvahs that Moshe Rabbeinu gave to us. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah is b'gematria 611. But the first two mitzvahs, Anoichi Hashem Elikecha and Lo Yir Lcha Elohim Acherim, Mipiri Agvura Nemru. It's said from the Eibishter. So that's not Al Yedei Shliach. So says the Ben Ish Chai, that we have to get reward for right away. Says therefore the Ben Ish Chai, it's amazing, in the Aderes Eliyahu, he says this. He says, that's what Hashem said to Avram. You're worried about what's going to protect your children? Al tira Avram, Anoichi, that's Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, Anoichi Mogein Lach. That's going to be a protection. Schorcha harbe ma'oi, the mitzvah of emunah. And when I saw this Ben Ish Chai, I realized, if you look in the beginning of Shas, Kol ha'oina amein, marichin lo yama v'shnoisav. Amen is all about emunah, I believe. We don't even say emes, we say I believe. So kol ha'oina amein, marichin lo yama v'shnoisav. Yama v'shnoisav, days, quality days and years. Kol ha'marich be'echad. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, our tremendous proclamation of emunah. Marichin lo yama v'shnaisav. Mezuzah. The idea of the mezuzah that's on the door, and we come in the room and we believe that the Rebbeinu Shalom is in the room, like the Rambam says, Leman yirbu yameichem b'mei b'neichem. Tefillin which we wear, that Hashem is in our mayach, in our heart. What does it say in Masechtas Menachos? It says, you wear tefillin when Hashem aleim yichyu. So we see that the anoichi, the emunah, that we get reward right away for that. That comes right away. I think that's such an important thing. It gives a person a feel, because we all want We all want to get reward right away. We all want to get reward right away. So when we say a Shema Yisrael with a kavana, when we pass the mezuzah with a kavana, and we're working on emunah, that's b'yoymai titein scharai. That the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to give us schar right away. It says that Avram in his travels reached Ad Mekoim Shechem. He reached till Shechem. He made a stop in Shechem. Now, the Chizkuni says it wasn't called Shechem yet. That's why it doesn't say Ad Shechem. It says Ad Mekoim Shechem, the place that will be Shechem. But it's not yet Shechem. That's why it says Ad Mekoim Shechem. So Rashi says, why did he stop in Shechem? Because he had a nevuah that over there, two of his Einiklef will fight an entire city. Shimon and Levi would fight an entire city. So he was mispal. Rashi says, "Mispalo al bnei Yisrael." This is literally bnei Yisrael, the children of Yaakov. Kishi yavo lilachem b'Shechem. Two of his Einiklef are going to fight a whole city. So Avraham Avinu stopped to be mispal. A kasha always bothered me over here. I never found anyone to ask this question. Why didn't he pray that Dinah shouldn't be violated? He prayed that they should have Atzlach in Shechem. Let him pray that this shouldn't happen, that Shechem shouldn't be manas Dinah. Dinah should go out and she should get back home safely. If he already had a vision. So you could answer that Hashem didn't give him that vision. That part Hashem didn't show him. Hashem only showed him, Hashem didn't show him everything. So Hashem showed him the danger that Shimon and Levi are going to be in. He didn't show them. But I just want to tell you, it could be that there wasn't what Avram could pray for. If he prayed for that Dinah shouldn't be violated, then Osnas wouldn't have been born. Yosef's wife, who would have Ephraim and Menashe. There would be two Shvatim missing. You know who's descended from Ephraim? Yoshua. You know who else? Mordechai. It would have changed the whole course of history. That he couldn't be mispal for. He could be mispal that Shimon and Levi should be protected. But to pray that Dinah shouldn't be violated, then we wouldn't have Osnas. Osnas was born. That's why she was called Osnas, because she was a child of Osan, a child of violation, a child of rape. But to pray for that, he couldn't be mispal. I'll make a third suggestion, which could also be true. And that is, he couldn't be mispalel to stop what happened to Dinah, because Dinah sinned. She was a Yatzanis. She went out. And Yaakov also had it coming because he put Dinah in the box, Rashi says. He shouldn't have put Dinah in the box. Maybe she could have, that's a Pella de Gazach, but Rashi says maybe she could have done something with Esav. And you'll say, Leah couldn't do anything. She wasn't condemned for crying that she shouldn't fall in the lot of Esav. Then Dinah had a chance. Let's remember the power of Dinah. Here you have this Goy Shechem, and he was willing to mal his whole country, and he did, because of Dinah. So Dinah had this charisma, this power. You know, if he was willing to do a surgery on everybody in the city because of her, maybe she could have done something with Esav. But anyway, could be that's also why Avram wasn't able to pray about that. Now we see this futuristic davening. This is very important. We see this futuristic davening. Furthermore, it says, Vayet Oholoi, he pitched his tent, and it gives us the exact geographic place where he pitched his tent. Beis El Miyam, V'ai Mikedem, Beis El to the west, Ai to the east, Vayiven Sham Mizbeach. This is his entry into Eretz Yisrael. Upon this entry into Eretz Yisrael, which was Yerichai, Avram was mispalel that Klal Yisrael should not be punished too harshly for Ochan misappropriating stuff from Yerichai. And the Gemara tells us in Masechta Sanhedrin how important this tefillah la'asid was. Says Rashi, Shel Molei Hiktim, it's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Shel Molei Hiktim Avram tefillah l'tzara bein beis el or bein ai lo yishtayer mirishiyah Yisrael sorah depalit. That's a euphemism. If Avram Avinu didn't pray, there wouldn't be left from Klal Yisrael a remnant or a refugee. That sounds pretty drastic because one person took from the stuff of Yerichai. It's pretty drastic. But the Yalkut Yehuda explains, another sefer I pulled off the shelf when I couldn't find this sefer. The Yalkut Yehuda explains that, an interesting explanation, that the importance of not taking anything from Yerichai is the concept that all Bereshis is for Hashem. And that's why when they entered into Eretz Yisrael, the entry, Yerichai, they left for Hashem. Because every Bereshis is left for Hashem. Bereshis, Bishvil Chalash and Bereshis, Bishvil Bikurim shenik Bereshis, Bishvil Maisa shenik Bereshis. Every Reshis is for Hashem. And therefore, Avram Avinu offered a korban as he entered into Eretz Yisrael to be misaken the chait that he did as he entered into Eretz Yisrael for Hashem to be misaken what was messed up by Ochan when he entered into Eretz Yisrael. That's what's happening over. And by the way, this idea that every first is for Hashem is why it's so important to support these Avos Abban and Matzah Shabbos learning programs in these Matzah Shabbos Sedarim, because it's starting the week with learning. It's making the first for Hashem. That's why it's very important also to get up in the morning not like a goy. It says, Al Teshiv Al Mita Aramis in the Gemara Brachas. So you shouldn't sit on a goyish bed. So the Gemara says, first, that's a practical halacha, that you shouldn't sit on a guy's bed because maybe they put a dead baby underneath and they'll accuse you of killing it. But the other pshat is don't get up in the morning like a guy, rubbing your eyes, going to the radio and saying, what's new? Is there still baseball playoffs? It's still, yeah. So what's the latest with the playoffs? Or how's the Dow Jones? You open up, Maidani lefanecha melechai v'kayim. That's how you start the day. Bereshis v'Hashem. But more importantly, I could even say on this, more importantly, we see how important it is to pray ahead. Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, it's. I have this thing that the address has to do a lot about the mimer of the Chazal. So this is Daf Lamed Beis in Shabbos, because this goes to the Ve'ezah Avodah Shi B'Leiv Every Yomer Tefillah. This is a very, very vital halacha of Tefillah. Gemara says, La'olam Yevakesh Adam Shelo Yecheleh. A person should always pray not to get sick. Always pray not to get sick. So that's davening in the future. It's not something that, unless you're trained, we're reactionaries. We react to problems with tefillin, with tefillah. If we have a problem, then we daven. Gemara says, Hayaroi shuacha sheloi batzar. The Chaverim Aviv asked, did you arrange your prayers before you had the problem? Towards the time of finding. Now the Gemara really zaps us, L'oilam yevakesh adam shelo yechela. Now, Rav Leibel Katz, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Slissi Yogan Aleinu, in his Oyel Aryeh, says that the La'olam means it's not enough to daven once or twice. La'olam, it should be a regular tefillah. Please Hashem, no cancer by my family. Please Hashem, let me not start forgetting things. My mind should be sharp. Getting older, the prostate should be good. A woman shouldn't suffer from things that she suffers later on in life. It shouldn't be too hard. It should be a constant prayer. I think there means something else also. La'olam means even if you're young. You know, sometimes Rav Miller said that pasuk in Mishlei, let's take or pesi yarim. The scoffer is smitten, and the simple become wiser. When we see things happen to young people, it reminds us to daven even when we're young. When we see somebody just came from the doctor 2 weeks ago, had a clean bill of health, and then keels over and dies. A person should always pray not to become sick. Even if you're in the best of health and you exercise and you eat well. So, I've been asked by more than one Talmud and sent emails. I've spoken about this concept because I think it's so important. I've spoken about it many times. And I said, have in mind, Rifa'enu, you shouldn't get sick. And have in mind, the Baruch Aleinu, you shouldn't lose your job. And have in mind, in Atachayna, there shouldn't be early Alzheimer's. So somebody asked me, Rabbi Weiss, is a Befeirisha Mishnah Berurah not that way? In Ilchus Tefillah, in Siman Kuf Yud, the Mishnah Berurah quotes the Pri Megadim, that the Pri Megadim says that you can have in mind Rifa'enu to get better if you're sick, and Baruch Aleinu to get a job if you lost your job. But he says you don't pray there not to become sick, and you don't pray in Baruch Aleinu not to have problems with Parnasa. You should have that in mind in Shmak Aleinu. That is a Mishnah Berurah. But you have to know that the Rabbeinu Bachya says clearly that Rifa'enu means to prevent one from getting sick. And he says a raya because it says, Kol ha'machla asher samti b'mitzrayim lo yosem olecha ki ani Hashem roifecha. Now, if you're not sick, what do you need a doctor for? So he says roifecha means preventive doctor. So Rifa'enu Hashem, prevent me from being sick v'nei rafei. Then I won't get sick. And when it comes to Parnasa, we could definitely have in mind when we say Uvorech shnosenu kashanim atoivos, that you should bench our year like the good years, that we had years that we weren't tight and we were able to pay all our bills, so we could say Uvorech shnosenu kashanim atoivos, give us like all the good years. And by the way, in Atochonim, when we say V'chaneinu me'itcha dei abinu v'askel, not only do we ask for seichel to understand the learning, not only do we ask for seichel to know how to behave with our spouse. Oh, does a person need seichel? A person needs seichel to know not to say something wrong, to know when to keep quiet. That's all. It's a big thing to give seichel. But it also means that we should have the seichel. In Sim Shalom, have a mind to have peace of mind. That's a big thing. Have a mind to have peace of mind. We say that one of the biggest brachas is to bless people that they should have menuchas hanefesh. That covers everything. This has menuchas hanefesh. That means he doesn't have shalom bayis problems, he doesn't have build problems, he doesn't have problems with his children. Menuchas hanefesh. That's sim shalom, peace of mind. And it's interesting, I had the schus to speak by the Chanukas Habayis of the Skalya Beis Medrash up in the mountains. They built a beautiful Beis Medrash, Le'ili Nishmas, the Rebbe's father, who was a Talmud of mine, used to come to my shir in the 14th Avenue Aguda, and I spoke there, and I remember the Rebbe spoke. And the Rebbe asked, why is it that we don't pray in Shemona Esrei for Simcha? So afterwards, the next morning, I davened with the Rebbe, and I said to him, I think we do. We ask, Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad Ba'or Panecha. And the Or Panecha, the Ha'oris Panim, that we ask Hashem, when a person is happy, they have a shining face. That's when we ask Hashem in Shemona Esrei for Or Panecha. We're asking that our face should shine with simcha. Elo oretz asher ar'eka, to the land which I will show you. Vayetzu lo Lech es artza Canaan, and Avram went to the land of Canaan. Everybody asks, how did Avram know? Hashem deliberately didn't tell him. He just said to the land that I will show you. And it says that Avram left to Canaan. How did he know to go to Canaan? So 2 answers that I saw that are very interesting is, one is that Avram knew that the flood did not affect Eretz Yisrael. So therefore he imagined that that's the holiest place on earth, because there was no flood in Eretz Yisrael. So that's where he headed to. He headed towards Eretz Yisrael. That's a beautiful answer. Another answer that they give is that he went to the tzaddik of the world, and at that time the tzaddik of the world was Shem ben Noach, Malki Tzedek Melech Shalem, who was king of Yerushalayim, and therefore he was heading to Malki Tzedek, he was heading to Shem. And we know that when Rivka felt Vayitzreitzu Abanim V'Kirva, so it says Vatelach Lidraishes Hashem, she went to Beis Medrash Shel Shem. So that was the place. So that's where he was heading. You'll forgive me for those that heard this from me before, but there's many that didn't hear from me. And my Zayda, Reb Menachem ben Reb Yitzchak Yorowitz, said that our Eka, he said he told this word to the Kilis Yaakov, to the Stipler Rav, and the Stipler had tremendous hana from it. He said, our Eka, written in Malay, our Eka is Aleph, Reish, Aleph, Chaf. So Aleph is 111, Reish is 510, Aleph is 111, and Chaf is 100, equals 832, which is exactly B'Gematria Eretz Yisrael. So El Eretz Asher Ar'eka is embedded in it exactly Eretz Yisrael. And by the way, I always tell with this, something that was figured out before computers. How the mechaber of this small sefer knew this before computers is beyond me. But he said that there's only one pasuk in the Torah which is B'Gematria Eretz Yisrael, and that's Hashem Ish Milchama Hashem Shmai. The success in battle in Eretz Yisrael is only totally in Hashem. Hashem Ish Milchama Hashem Shmai is the only pasuk in the Torah which is B'Gematria 832. The Maisa is, it says, V'agadlo Shemecha, and I will make your name great. So the Satmar Rebbe, previous Satmar Rebbe, Zech Kirsch Brachas Chusi Yogan Aleinu, one feels a little bit the chills just mentioning the Satmar Rebbe, the Divrei Yoel, a man whose hamapel was longer than his sleep, a man whose skin looked like the skin of a child even in his old age, a man who changed the scene of the world, both in the area of chesed, in the area of chasidus, a man who is so vital to the world that the Rebbeinu Shalom sent a train into Bergen-Belsen to bring him out. He says as follows. He says, Rashi says, V'agadlo Shmecha, so Hashem says, I will be oidia tivoi ba'olam. I will make you known in the world. Asked the Satmar Rebbe to a man like Avram, who was an Onav, who said, Anoichi Ofer ve'efer, I am but dust and ash. And the double lashon of dust and ash is offer has no value now, but it has value later. You could grow things. Afer has no value now, but it had value before you burnt it. He says, I have no value before, no value after. So a man like that, what kind of an incentive is it to tell him that he'll be known in the world? You know, he doesn't want to be known in the world. He wants to be Lech Ba'alakelim. You know, he wants to disappear, you know, amongst the woodwork. Idea tivai ba'ilam. So the simple pshat is that Avram Avinu wanted to be mefarsim the Rebbeinu Shalom. And if you're well known, you could accomplish more. You know, that's why I always tell people, I'm a rah-rah type of guy. Why? Because if I'm a rah-rah, then more people will listen to the shir. You know, you want to get to my daf yomi, 8 o'clock in the night, zoomdaf.com. If you want to come here, it's 2 Valley Stream, you know, in Lakewood, New Jersey. You know, I'm a rah-rah type of guy, you know, because I want more people to come and learn. I want more people to tune in. So Avram Avinu, for him, if he becomes known, so he'll be able to be mefarsim the Rebbeinu Shalom more. That's why it was an incentive for him. But the Satmar Rebbe says more. Satmar Rebbe says that Avram Avinu was always worried that maybe he lost because he had so many miracles that maybe it subtracted a lot of his chusim. As a matter of fact, the Sifsei Chachamim on the Rashi, which says that he saw the Bnei Yisrael in Shechem. So if he saw that when he was in Shechem, what was he telling Hashem later? I'm childless. What's going to be with me? Uven Meshek Beisi, the one who's going to possess my house, is Damesek Eliezer. What do you mean? You saw already Shimon and Levi. What are you worried about? The Sifsei Chacham says he was worried that Shema Yigram Achet. Maybe sin caused it, or maybe he lost his chusim because of all the miracles that he had. He came out of a kivshin age, and then he threw sand and it became spears, and he threw straw and it became arrows. He was worried. Says the Satmar Rebbe, Hashem told him, don't worry. You're going to be so known that it's going to be such a kiddush Hashem. All of the things that happen to you because you believe in me, and all of the miracles that happen will cause such a kiddush Hashem that will outweigh any nikui zuchusim that you would have. That's what the Satmar Rebbe says. And that's the reason why we make a Suda Saidah. A lot of people are worried, make a Suda Saidah, it's going to be an Ayin Hara. Especially, we know that Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah weren't heard of after they came out of the Kivshin Eish. They got an Ayin Hara. Everybody, look, they got an Ayin Hara. So why do we make a Suda Saidah? We better not to tell anybody. We better be quiet. And why do we bench Gaimel Dafkin a minion? A woman has a Caesarean section. She gathers 10 people to bench Gaimel. Right? Why do we do it in a minion? What are we doing? The answer is because when a person has a rescue from Hashem, and is Mikadei Shem Shamayim, says the Satmar Rebbe, that protects a person from the Nikui Skusim, from getting Skusim deducted because of the miracle. By the way, that's what we say. This is the way the Shalmei Nedarim, the Masechtas Nedarim, learns Pshat in what we say at the end of the 4th bracha in benching, Umikol Tov La'olam Al Yichasreinu. Now the literal meaning of that is, Umikol Tov, all the good you give me, Hashem, La'olam Al Yichasreinu, it should not stop. I have such a wonderful shir over here, I have people coming and learning, La'olam Al Yichasreinu. People shouldn't stop watching the shir. People shouldn't stop listening to the shir. La'olam Al Yichasreinu. Says the Shalmei Nedarim, there's a deeper pshat. Umikol Tov, all the good that Hashem gives me, La'olam Al Yichasreinu, it shouldn't deduct from my schusim. La'olam Al Yichasreinu, it shouldn't deduct from my schusim. So try this gematria on for size. This is a great gematria. Shmecha ve'yei bracha is exactly the gematria 613. Really, really interesting. Let's try it out. Shmecha, is 360. Shin is 300, Mem is 40, Chav is 360. Veyeh is the same as Yud Kei Vav Kei, that's 26. And Bracha, it's an easy one, is 227. So 360 plus 26 plus 227 is 613. Okay, that's interesting. Why is that? Shmechav, I got Shmechav, Veyeh Bracha. What is it? Shaykhus to 613. So the simple meaning is Shmecha, when Avram Avinu becomes Avraham, so that's when he was Gemalt. He got the hay when he got the Milah. Right now he's a Ben Yisrael, not a Ben Noach. So now he has the 613 mitzvahs. That's the simple meaning. Shmecha V'yeh Bracha. What's the simple meaning? Also, Shmecha, Avram, is 248. That's the mitzvah saseh. V'yeh Bracha is the mitzvah saseh. Together, that's the 613. And it's telling you that the loisasehs are also a big bracha. People don't realize that they get much reward when they don't do something. Most people think, you delivered a package at time for Shabbos. You came out to learn, and late in the night after a long day's work. Okay. But you didn't do something. Somebody says, what did I do this Friday? As I was stuck in the house, I didn't say Shira Shirim. I didn't even help my wife a lot. What did I do? What do you mean? You didn't scream. Oh, you didn't scream on her. That's a big thing. The Yeh Bracha is a big bracha, just what we don't do. The Gra says that how do we get the Aragonis for every moment that we could have spoke Lashon Hara and we didn't speak it. The Yeh Bracha is a big bracha not only for the positive things, but we get tremendous accomplishment by what we didn't do. So as Rav Zilberstein says, a immodest woman passes on the street and you don't look, at that moment you could ask for something. Because you fulfilled Loisasura Achrei Levavchem V'Achrei Einechem, that's an Eis Rotzen to ask Hashem. It's not just what you did, what you don't do. I think there's another pshat. You don't like this, it's okay. Shmecha V'yeh Bracha is 613. It's telling us that the 613 mitzvahs is a big blessing. There's a famous word from Ramosha, he said, never say it's schwer zu sein a Yid. It's hard to be a Yid. Say it's glücklich zu sein a Yid. It's lucky to be a Yid. 613, we got 613. Yeah. You mean no more this and no more that and no more this and no more that? The Goyim are so lucky. No, V'yeh Bracha. We have to view the 613 as a blessing. Of course, if we realize that each one is a way to get to the next world. You know, I love what Taisa says in today's daf. I didn't say it when I was saying the daf tonight, but Taisa says on today's daf, it says that if a person says "Sela zulit staka," in order that I should get olam haba, harizet tzadik gomer. So Taisa asks, but it says that we should serve Hashem shaloi al manas l'kabel pras. So what do you mean harizet tzadik gomer? So Taisa says that's only if we're like the Goyim. We're like the Goyim that will regret it if we don't get something. But if we're going to do it anyway, so then we could have in mind that we should get Olam Haba. And I have a Ma'aser Rav that I asked my Rebbe, I asked Ramosha, and once I asked him, it says in Mesilas Yesharim that the Yesod HaYesodis is to be Zeicha to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, to be Nena Meziv HaShchina. I said, but that's pras. It says, Shaloi Almanas L'Kabel pras. So Ramosha answered me at the time, Halavai that we believe in Emunah Shlema, in the pot of gold. And probably Ramesha was basing that answer on this Tosfos. It's okay to do it. Vayibra ba'aretz, vayered Avram Mitzrayim. There was a famine in the land, and Avram went down to Mitzrayim. I have to tell you that the Ramban in this week's parsha takes a very hard line on Avram and Sarah. Whoa. Very hard line. The Ramban says, Avram chata chet gadol b'shoigeg. He did a great sin unwittingly when he told Sarah Imenu to say that she is his sister. And he put Sarah Imenu in grave danger that power would take her. He should have said the truth and relied on Hashem. And he said, Avram also sinned. Hashem said he should go to Eretz Yisrael. Afterwards, Hashem told him that. He shouldn't have made a detour. I know there was a famine, but he should have trusted in Hashem. He shouldn't have made a detour to go down to Mitzrayim. Listen to what the Ramban says. V'al ma'isa hazeh, and because of this, he put his wife in danger, and he didn't trust in Hashem. Imagine saying about Avram Avinu. He didn't trust in Hashem. V'al ma'isa hazeh nigzera al zaroi golus eretz Mitzrayim. Because of this, they had to go down to Egypt. Now, the Ramban also gives them a hard time with Hagar. Ooh. It says, Vataneha Sarah. Sarah afflicted Hagar, whatever that means. Raya Levine says she didn't treat Hagar any differently than usual. But since Hagar now did not have an appreciation of Sarah when Hagar got pregnant, anything that was before an honor now became a burden. But whatever it means, Rataneh Sarah afflicted her, says the Rambam. Chata Sarah imenu be'inyan zeh, afflicting Hagar. V'chein Avram b'hanichai, and also Avram for letting her. And what happened because of that? The Nasan Laben Hashem gave Hagar a child. She pera onam lanoi zera Avram b'chol minei inuyim, to afflict the Jewish people, that's the Arabs, with all types of inuyim. You have to understand that if Avram Avinu didn't go down to Mitzrayim, but stayed on course in Eretz Yisrael, he would have never retrieved Hagar, and Yishmael would have never been born. So the first thing we see from this is that our choices, the choices we make, affect our descendants. It's a very big responsibility. The choices that we make affect our descendants. Those that survived the Holocaust, they know that. They know that they were gebenched with such families, hundreds of Yotzei Chalotzim. They know that they're not giving up, and they're heroics, and Hashem gave such rewards. The decisions that we make in life, just like the tefillos that we make in life. You saw how important the tefillos of Avraham Avinu was. If not, lo nishtayer sarah the polit. The tefillos that we make and the decisions that we make affects our descendants. Say that you're my sister, and this way I'll live. So the Bali Taisus asks the obvious question. It seems to be that Avram Avinu knew that if he was married to her, they would kill him so that they shouldn't take a married woman. So the Bali Taisus says, what, they're worried about sleeping with a married woman, but they're not worried about murder? That's the Bali Taisus question. Seems to be they're more worried about sleeping with a married woman than murder. So Taisus says, nah, they're not worried about murder, and they're not worried about sleeping with a married woman. Just Paro didn't want to be or whoever took her wouldn't want to be embarrassed by the husband saying, oh, he took my wife, so get rid of him. So it wasn't a sin, they were worried about the busha, the embarrassment. That's one answer. The Bala Akedah Yitzhak gives such an interesting answer. Avram Avinu said to her, tell him I'm married, you're married, but not to me. Tell him you're married, but just not to me. They're concerned about married also. So tell him you're married, but just not to me. So this way, I'm protecting myself also. The Chidah says that Avram was not worried about Sarah. This was always Avram's stance. Just like when Avram, we know that Sarah had a taina, Chamasi Lcha, why didn't you pray for me? Anoichi hoylech hariri, why didn't you pray for me? The answer is Avram wasn't worried about her. He figured that she has chusim to have a child. He figured it's only me. So in the same way, he wasn't worried that power is going to touch her. Sarah has enough chusim, like we see Hashem defended her. He was only worried about himself because he said, I don't have enough chusim. That's the way the Chidah learns. There is a marvelous Klei Yakar. It says, Vayinaga Hashem es Paro al dvar Sarai eshes Avram. Question is, why did Hashem punish Paro with Nigam? It was terrible Nigam. They couldn't go to the bathroom. Why did Hashem do that? In reality, Paro took a woman who said that she was unmarried. And it's an aristocratic family, so he took her. Well, what was it? So some learn, but you have no right to take a woman against her will. Some learn that way. But others learn that when Sarah was in the room alone with Paro, Sarah said, I'm a married lady. She wasn't worried that Paro would kill Avram. She was worried that the other people would kill Paro, the king, would do such a thing. So she told him, I'm married. And he didn't listen. He says, no, you said, you're just being shy. So Hashem gave a plague al devar Sarai eshes Avram because she told him. By the way, the Eitzah Ployes says an interesting thing. The Eitzah Ployes says that when Avram brought her down, he smeared her face with black. That was a minig brought down, that when they did battle, they took their wives with them, but that people shouldn't have a taiva for them. They used to smear their face with black. But Sarah's inner beauty, which came from inside, penetrated the black, that they recognized Sarah as being a pretty woman. That's what's brought down. It says, Vayishma Avram ki nishba achiv. Avram heard that Lech was taken captivity. We always learn that Lech was taken into captivity because Sdaim was taken, and he was taken with Sdaim. That's the way we learn. But there's a medrash that says something fascinating. Nimrod stopped by Avram's inn to eat. Nimrod came to the Eish Avram. It was open to everybody. He heard a lot about it. Avram seared his tongue with mustard. It's the best restaurant in town, It's better than Charq, It's better than Doma, better than Sands, whatever it's called, right? So Nimrod came to try it out, and he heard it's for free. So when he got ready to leave, Avram says, here's the bill. He said, what are you charging me? You don't charge anybody. He says, I don't charge anybody because afterwards they give thanks to the one above. But you're not going to do that. You believe that you're the God, you get a bill. Nimrod, says the Medrash, was powerless to do anything against Avram. There was another Kivshan Eish. The great Nimrod was powerless against Avram, so he took Lot. And that's when Lot was taken as a captive. And that explains also the responsibility that Avram felt to go out and rescue him. I mean, we learn out from here, that even if it's not the best of relatives, but you never hide from your relatives. The famous Maisa with Rabbi Kiva Eger. Rabbi Kiva Eger was in a town, and Rabbi Kiva Eger asked, he wanted to find a relative. So they said he must be a chashiv, a relative, that the Reb Kiva Eger is looking for him. He says, look, by Hashavas Habeida, it says with Salamta, that sometimes you could hide from it. If it's a hula hoop, that a luminous hula hoop, and you don't feel it's your cover to walk through the streets with it, pa'amim atam misalim, zokin ve'enu lefik vayde. But by relatives, it says mebasarcha al tisalim. You don't hide from any relatives. You got to help your relatives. Lamaisa is, they ask, it's a Zohar, very interesting Zohar. The Zohar asks, why did Avram go? And it was 4 kings and armies. What did he have? Eliezer, maybe some 300 people against 4 mighty armies. Ain't samchal al hanes. You're not allowed to put yourself in danger. Why do you do it? Okay, some say he saw it was Malchus Beis David that he was rescuing from the nice light. That's what some say. But Lamaisa is, the Zohar answers that Avram Avinu, it's a very interesting Zohar, that Avram Avinu only went to redeem Lech. He was bringing a tremendous amount of money to pay for him, to redeem him. On the way, he was joined by Malachim. That's a whole different story. He joined by Malachim. He could fight with Malachim. He could fight with the 4 kings and all of their armies. Va'avorcha mevarechecha umekalelcha o'ar. I will bless those that bless you, which, by the way, is a big incentive not to rush out from shul, but to say good Shabbos to everybody. Because when you say good Shabbos to Yidden, not a real good Shabbos, a good Shabbos, the cholent shouldn't burn, and you shouldn't get indigestion in the night and get reflux in the middle of the night, and you shouldn't have it that you fall asleep right away and then wake up in the middle of the night and then only fall asleep again at 5:30 and oversleep davening. You give a person a real good Shabbos. There shouldn't be any fights in the house. You right away get blessed back. Avarcha mevarechecha. Give a bracha, get a bracha. But then it says, umekalelcha o'or. Those that curse you will be cursed. Says the where did I see this? In a good place. It says that the Rebbeinu Shalom, it takes a greater offense if somebody is mavaza a Talmud Chacham more than if you're mavaza disgrace the Rebbeinu Shalom. Because by the Rebbeinu Shalom it says mechabdai achabed, those that honor me I will honor, uvozai yekalu, and those that disgrace me I will cause to be cursed. Others will curse. But here it says by somebody like Avram Avinu, umekalelcha or, I will curse myself. It's if you want to know, not talking properly about Talmidei Chachamim is messing around with such fire, you want to stay away from it like the plague. Remember in the beginning how people were wearing all those astronaut costumes next to somebody that had COVID? That's the way you want to stay away from somebody. That's the way you want to stay away from talking disparagingly about a Talmud Chacham. There's a Maimah Chazal that Maimah Chazal says that whoever is mevazet Talmidei Chachamim, kol ha-mevazet Talmid Chacham ein refuah l'makasei. There are certain cancers that are incurable. Sometimes they see on the scans that the cancer is laced into arteries that are vital. It can't be surgically removed. They can't even treat it with radiation because it would destroy the vital arteries. They say it's an inoperable, incurable. It's a very scary thing. Today on social media, There's so much bizui Talmidei Chacham. Today, anybody that knows how to write and is articulate, all of a sudden, the world is a stage. And people listen and sometimes comment and sometimes agree with people that are mavaza Talmidei Chacham. You should know that's playing with fire. With fire. And this happened a lot during COVID. People mavaza Talmidei Chacham. It's playing with fire. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. It's TNT. I saw a Shalah Kaddish. You know, I'm always concerned that people daven all the time, and it's the same Shemona Esrei, same old, and they don't have kavanah because they get so used to it. So I'm always excited to see like a new thought on Shemona Esrei. So I found a levush. By the way, this levush is in the sefer that I did find in my wife's car. She found afterwards. So we're getting something from this sefer. So it says Ve'yei bracha b'cha chaisman. We end off Baruch Hashem Magen Avram. The levush says we know that our tefillah is davening, which the Bnei Yisrael says is de'avinan, that of our fathers. So the levush says a pshat running through the entire Shemona Esrei. I want to say it over very quickly. He says the first bracha is Magen Avram, is when Hashem saved Avram from the Kivshon Eish, and he saved him from the kings. Second bracha, Mechayim Eisim, is we know that at the Akedah, Yitzchak was taken up for 2 years to Gan Eden to be healed. So that's Mechayim Eisim. Hakel HaKadosh, that's Yaakov, who made a very big Kiddush Hashem. You shouldn't be doing two things at the same time. Yitzchak made a Kiddush Hashem Yaakov made a Kiddush Hashem by Lavan's house, that in Lavan Garti, and he worked for Lavan in the night, in the cold, and Lavan switched his wages a bunch of times, and Yaakov made a Kiddush Hashem, that's Okel HaKadosh. And when Yosef couldn't be appointed viceroy because he didn't know all 70 languages, Hashem taught him all 70 languages, that's Baruch Atah Hashem, Chaynein Hadoas. And then when Reuven did tshuva for switching his father's bed from the tent of Bilhah to the tent of Leah, it says Haroitza b'shuva. And when Yehuda was admitted about Tamar, Tzadka, Mimeni, it says Chanan Amar b'Lisayach. And when the Jews were taken out of Mitzrayim, we say Gal Yisrael. And when Avram Avinu was healed by the Malach from the Milah, we say Rifa'enu. When Yosef gathered all of the Shvatim and Yaakov, and they were reunited in Mitzrayim, we say Mekabetz Nitchei Amo Yisrael. When Moshe Rabbeinu was taught the Torah and all of Jewish jurisprudence, we say Melech Oyev Tzedakah Mishpat. When the Mitzrim drowned in the Yam Suf, the 9 million Mitzrim, we say Shoiver Oyevim Umachni Azedim. When Hashem fulfilled what was promised to Yaakov, that Yosef Yosef Siodav Alav, that when he passes away, Yosef will be there to close his eyes. Mishon Miftach La Tzadikim. Hashem keeps his promise to the Tzadikim. And when Shlomo HaMelech built Yerushalayim, we say B'nai Yerushalayim. When Klal Yisrael passed successfully the Yam Suf and they sang the Shira, that's Matzmiach Keren Yeshua. When Hashem listened to our cries, Vatal Shavosam Elokim and Avoida, and he listened to our cries in Egypt, that's Shemei Tefillah. It's interesting. When the Shekhinah left, when we did the Chet HaEgel, and then came back to the Mishkan, that's Hamachzir Shekhinah L'Tzion. And when Shlomo HaMelech brought successfully the Aron into the Kodesh Kedoshim, that's Hatoiv Shimcha L'cha Noel HaHodos. And when Klal Yisrael successfully entered into Eretz Yisrael and defeated the 7 nations, V'nasati Shalom Ba'aretz, that's HaMavarech Esama Yisrael Ba'Shalom. What an interesting path to have in mind, not all the time, but in Shemona Esrei. And finally, I told this story over by a Sheva Brachas this week, and I told it over twice. I already said this story twice. It's a story that made a very big Rishon. This is also from that sefer that I lost. There, we know that one of the elements of Avram Avinu's Milah, besides that he was 99 years old, was the fact that his parents weren't by the bris. Parents weren't by the bris. So there was a moyel in Eretz Yisrael. His name was Rav Abuhav. He gets a call that there's a woman that's living in the non-religious area of Tel Aviv that she needs a moyel. Today is the 7th day. Tomorrow is the baby's 8th day. Could he do the milah? So he said what time, expecting that, it's not from, it'll be sometime in the middle of the day. So he said 7:30. He said, woo, okay, I'll be there. He arrives at the address and he's confused. He figures it's a shul or a hall or something. It's a house. There isn't any cars in front of the house. He knocks on the door. He says, excuse me, I think I'm making a mistake, but I was told that this address, a bris. She says, yes, come in. Rabbi Abuav, yeah, come in. So there's a woman there and a nanny, a goyish nanny. So she says, oh, you came perfect in time. I got to leave. He says, you're leaving? Where's the father? Oh, no, my husband had to fly somewhere for work, and I have to leave because I have an important meeting at work. I'm a manager. How much do you take? 100 shekalim. Here's the money. And my nanny will take care of the baby. And she walks out. So all of a sudden, he has to be the male, the sandik, and the father. He takes the baby, and he's sitting there with the goiter. Takes the baby on his knees, and when he Vikarish, and she said what the name should be. He said Vikarish Shem Yisrael, and when he said Kishem Shenichnas Labris Kain Yikanas L'Torah L'Chubel L'Maisim Tovim, the baby was crying. And the baby was crying, and he started crying. He says, "You're crying if you knew what kind of parents you have. They didn't even stay for your own bris. They abandoned you to a guy on your bris." And he started crying, Kishem Shenichnas Labris, what's going to be the future of this baby? Kain Yikanas L'Torah L'Chubel L'Maisim Tovim. And he gave instructions to the gaita, and he left the house, mamish, with tears streaming down his eyes. 13 years passes, and he gets a call from this lady again. She says, is this Rabbi Abuav? Yes. The Moyel? Yes. Do you remember me? He says, some people you can't forget. So he said, did you have another baby? She said, no, something. It's a different problem. He says, what? He says, our son got this crazy idea into his head that he wants to go to yeshiva. So the first thing we did is we took him to a psychologist. Then we took him for a second opinion. But he's very headstrong, and what he did now, when we told him loy mit an aleph, what he did is he started a hunger strike. And he's on the 2nd day of the hunger strike. And we see that we have to capitulate. So I was thinking, racking my brains what to do. So she said, I remembered that you were normal. So he said, by the way, how did you get my name? So she said she looked under circumcision, and Aleph was the first. She went down the alphabetical order. So he said, yes, I could take care of your problem. And he realized that this is the koyach of tears. He remembered how when he said, Kishem Shenichnas Labris Kain Yikanas L'Torah, he was drenched with tears, feeling bad for the baby. And he said, Kishem shenichnas l'bris, kain yitkanes l'tayra. And shari demoris lo ninala. So you should know, some people, they don't cry easily. But sometimes you get emotional about something and you cry. Use those tears. They're very powerful. Shari demoris lo ninala. I want to thank all of you for joining us. I want to thank all of you that are here, men and women, all our Zoom. You see the Zoom worked terrific this week. Those that are here on Facebook, those that are on Kol Lachim, all my digital subscribers. We do not have a sponsor for next week. Anybody who wants to sponsor, 718-916-3100, or text or call 718-916-3100. And also you can email me to rmmwsi@aol.com. Also, please join me for my Zoom Daf Yomi. It's zoomdaf.com, and it's 8 o'clock during the week. And on Motzei Shabbos, it's at 9:15. And to all my TorahAnytime.com listeners, I want a special thank you to Mayor Summers, who is in Eretz Yisrael and is doing this uploading onto the system for the live access from Eretz Yisrael. So a special thank you to Mayor, and have a good night and a good Shabbos.